2, 3, and we are live.
Yeah. I'm not sure if
And
there's really...
1, 2, what?
I don't know, I just don't really know how you start these kind of things, because usually it's a bit awkward whenever you start a live stream.
Okay, and we are live. Hello, everybody. My name is Crystal, and welcome to Rosie's Closet. Today, I have a special guest with me. This is Jacob, my son, broadcasting from his bedroom.
Hi.
Hello, my son.
For
Actually,
me,
on the street, it would be like this way.
yeah, for me,
It
I
would be
turn
this.
this way to face the door, but I have to
Yeah,
face
you
this
know,
way
you have
to
to go.
actually face you. Like, I do
Yeah,
that.
it's opposite on this
The camera's kind of weird, but yeah.
thing. Yeah. So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're not going to be chatting about reselling on the channel today. Today we're going to be talking about autism or autism spectrum disorder. And the reason that we decided to do this was actually a few people have asked me about different resources or writing a book. And I just thought that it would be better in the form of a support group or like a chat group, kind of like this, as opposed to actually writing it down on paper, because a lot of the laws and the what is the word I'm looking for? The resources and things like that, they change, and they change quickly. They change yearly. And so I just thought, like, if I wrote a book and I wrote it all down, it would be obsolete next year, or everything would completely change. Hi, Ordy, welcome in.
Hi.
So I thought that a support group or something like this would work out much better, where we can answer questions or help you with anything or help each other. And my son is with us here, and my son was actually diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, and kind of gives you a different perspective.
Really? Was that really necessary?
Yeah, of course, as soon as we go live, it's totally necessary. And we will wait for the truck.
The classic broadcaster.
Of course, usually on my streams, it's always the dog that is like, but
now
now
that we have a microphone closer to the window.
Yeah, so let's just wait a second while the truck does its thing and pass. It's the garbage man. Because it's really loud, and I have my window open because it's kind of hot in my room. So your youngest has autism. How old is your youngest? Oh, Jacob here is 12.
Yep.
He was diagnosed with neurodevelopmental disorder at 4 years old. And he carried that diagnosis until he was about 8 or 9 years old. And then he was formally diagnosed with ASD.
I just noticed that you can see like the reflection of my monitor in my glasses, which is kind of interesting.
You can see mine too.
Yeah, except it's a lot brighter on mine.
I have the like anti-reflection thing on mine.
Yeah, true.
Casey is 15. So he's having trouble socially. I know that, and maybe Jacob, you can speak for yourself if you want, but that is very common with kids with ASD. The social aspect is difficult, but there are things that you can do to help them. Like Jacob, maybe you want to talk a little bit about maybe your counselor or like sports social or different things that you've done to kind of help with that social anxiety.
I mean, like, it mainly depends on like what actually makes you anxious about it, because it's different for pretty much everyone, because there are lots of different things that cause it. It could be just the fear of what people think, just random nerves when talking to an actual another human being. Very different things like that. So it really just depends on the person. It's not really one set thing.
Yeah, so the social aspect is difficult because it affects everyone differently. So it could be the anxiety, it could be the noise level of the place that you're in, it could be so many different things. But I've been working with Jake and just trying to help him out as much as possible, giving him as many tools as I can come up with for him, to put him in those social situations, those really awkward moments, and kind of force him into those situations, to try to open him up a little bit and kind of force him to figure out how to handle the situation. And I think that's helped him out a lot because, when we first started this journey, he wouldn't even be able to get on a live stream like this. I mean, it probably he would have wanted to sit on the sidelines and listen. He probably wouldn't talk or even be on his own little section over there. His bad is tearing paper. Good morning, Iceman. Hi, how are you?
It feels refreshing to actually be called my username.
Iceman?
Yeah. Because I've gotten so many nicknames now.
Yeah. Gumby is a cool nickname. I like Gumby.
I recently developed the Ocean Man nickname as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I haven't figured out why they call you Ocean Man, but
yeah, I don't
maybe
know.
because melting ice or something.
I always say everyone's kind of focused on the whole ice part. Nobody really melts me, so.
But ice doesn't melt into the ocean. Well, I suppose it could. Yeah,
it melts in the water, and water's the ocean.
Yeah. So, Ordy, what do you mean by his bad is tearing paper? Is that what he does when he gets upset or frustrated, that he starts ripping paper? I know when Jacob was younger, he would get really frustrated to the point of where he would bang his head, or he would bite himself or punch things. So kids have different ways of expressing their frustration when they don't know how to tell you how they're feeling. He plugs his ears. Yeah, noise is a big sensitivity. Coffee. I'm just barely having my coffee this morning, waking up. Is that light really super bright behind me there?
What do you mean?
Because my window's open. It was really bright right there.
No? Well, I have my lamp on, which is usually
really
in the middle of the night. I mean, I can turn it off if you want. You're turning one on.
Hold on a second. Let me turn off. Of course, man. We go live and then a phone
Hello.
call.
Please leave a message after the tone.
No.
Is that better?
No, I didn't mean yours. I meant mine.
Oh.
We could see you better with the way that you had it. Sorry.
Okay.
It's a little bright. I could close it if it's bothering you, but. So, do you guys in the chat have any questions about autism or neurological disorder, neurodevelopmental disorder, anything like that maybe Jake and I can help you with or can answer? Now, don't get me wrong. I am not a doctor. I'm not a professional. I am a professional on my son. That's it. I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional when it comes to autism, because like I said, every parent, every child, every person experiences it differently. So I'm not an expert when it comes to autism. I'm just talking about our experiences, the things that we've gone through, how we've dealt with it with doctors, with teachers, with the school district, things like that. So if you have questions, you know, I might be able to.
Rough.
What was that? What are you saying under your breath?
School district's been rough.
School district is rough, yes. Every year without fail.
Every year without fail.
Every year without fail. And it doesn't matter what school we go to, school is always a challenge in dealing with, I think, and it's probably that way across the board with any disability.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely with ASD, it's really hard to deal with the school and to get services through the school district because they just don't have the funding, and it's not really the school's fault. It's more either the county or the state or just across the board government that our schooling doesn't have the funding to help these kids in their classroom. So Orty's asking, how's the school handling Iceman?
I mean, recently we've just been doing a lot of map testing, which has been boring. So yeah, that's that. And for everything else, it's been an interesting couple months so far.
Interesting start of the year.
Because I've been laughing a lot at it, and not in a good way.
Sometimes when things are so bad, you just have to laugh because there's nothing else that you can do, you know. And I didn't really want to talk about reselling today, but I mean, like the whole situation with eBay that's going on right now and all the glitching and everything that's happening, it's so bad and to the extreme that you just have to like sit there and laugh because otherwise you would cry. So
honestly,
you know,
I don't think it's just eBay, because I've been having actually problems too with like my gaming stuff, because like a lot of my games haven't been loading up properly. Like only just recently my Xbox Fighter started working again, so I think something's going on right now and I'm not sure what.
maybe we need to do something with your computer, clean it out and take a look at it.
It might not be our computer, because I know a lot of people are having problems with like Steam and all that kind of stuff. So
okay. So
I don't know. This is an interesting month.
Oh, okay. Map US. That's not what he means by map testing. Map testing here is kind of, they test for English language arts and math. I forget. Do you know what MAP stands for? MAP, Jacob?
Nope. Let's find out.
It's okay. But basically, it's kind of like placement testing, or they want to make sure that the kids are understanding what they have been taught so far. So they get a test after the end of each quarter or the end of each session to make sure that they've understood what they've been taught for that quarter before they can continue or before they can move on to the next grade.
It stands for measures of academic progress.
Oh, okay. So measures of academic progress.
Also, did you like allowed my?
He's been doing that map testing because his school did say to him that depending on how he does on the test will determine whether or not he has to continue in his classes or whether he can just continue schooling on his own, because he does go to an online school. Hi, Joanna. Thank you for joining us. This is my son, Jacob. Jacob, this is Joanna. So hopefully, did you finish your language arts test?
My language arts one? No. Since we don't have like classes, we don't actually. Like, we're doing the map testing in classes, so classes are literally just pretty much
Oh,
nothing.
so you'll probably
Yeah,
finish
so we're
it
finishing
tomorrow
on Friday, yeah.
then. Okay. I was just curious how you did on your language arts one because I know how you did on your math. So. So yeah. All right.
Do I have long hair? Yes, I
Have
do.
long hair. His hair is really long.
Yes. Very. I can't even really show it without going out of frame. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And remember, that's curving around here too.
So he has it shaved on the sides, and it's just really long on the top. Of course, he's kind of due for a haircut there on the sides, but he has it long just here on the top and the long ponytail. You too? Casey, when I was told, I went, but then realized it explained his things. I think what you're trying to say is that when you were told that he has ASD, it explained a lot of things that were going on with him. And yes, Joanna, Jacob was diagnosed with autism when he was about 8 or 9 years old. Prior to that, he was diagnosed with neurodevelopmental disorder. And yes, he is very high functioning.
Yeah, I got extremely high functioning autism.
Yeah. In some places, they still call it Asperger's syndrome, but that's not really a term that they use anymore. Now they just say, because Asperger's is a form of autism. It's just at the very high end of the spectrum. So now they just call it autism, and they really no longer use that word or diagnose with Asperger's. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. Yeah. Asperger's is technically what he would have been diagnosed with if they still use that term, but he is high functioning autism. He's extremely smart, actually like the genius level smart, but he has a lot of sensitivities, or what is the word I'm looking for?
I don't really know.
Sensory. I couldn't think of what it was. Yes, sensory processing disorder. So he does have a lot of sensory issues. So Joanna says, Jacob, you're doing awesome if you do your schooling from home. I would never do it if I didn't go to class.
I mean, I've just kind of gotten used to it, and it helps my terrible sleep schedule. So, yeah.
Yeah, his I think it's because he's been homeschooling since the beginning. So he's pretty much used to online school and homeschooling, as he doesn't really know anything different. He's never been in a brick and mortar formal classroom.
And I don't want to be.
Yeah, and I don't want you to be either. I think that you've done very well with the type of schooling that we're doing. And so why change it? Why change it if you're doing good and on the right track, learning what you need to, and you are excelling and you are way beyond your years? Oh, there's no point in changing that now because you're doing great. So is there anything else that you want to talk about, Jacob? Maybe that I haven't mentioned yet? What online? I'm sorry?
Nothing specific though.
Okay. So Orti's asking, what online do you use? So we go through a program called K-12, and there are several, I think there's a couple different schools here in Las Vegas under the K-12 umbrella, but the one that he goes to is Nevada Virtual Academy.
Public art? Depends on the art. Some art I like, some some eh, eh, eh. It really depends.
Not really. You don't like art.
I mean, again, depends on the kind of art, because there are lots of different types of art.
Yeah, I mean, to actually like sit down and draw something or color something, that's never been his thing.
Yeah.
Um, you can't even get your son to write. He is in kindergarten. Yes, some kids just don't like it. Um, my son always had an issue with it. I never really understood it um, until more recently, like in the last few years. And that's because we knew something was wrong. We didn't quite know what from the time he first started walking. And we went to so many different doctors. Different doctors were telling me basically what was going on was he was having problems in his legs. He would stand up, he would cry like in pain, and then he would fall down and he would want to crawl. And he was just having a lot of pain. And I was taking him to all these different doctors, and they were like, oh, there's nothing wrong. It's just growing pains. It's normal. I'm like, it's not normal. It's not normal. And, I really hate it when doctors tell me, oh, you're a first-time mom, you don't know. Well, first-time mom or not, being a mom, there's something wrong. And so I just kept pushing it, going to different doctors. And that was out in California. Finally, we moved to Las Vegas. I found a different doctor. She told me, try some different shoes for him. Some shoes like with a really high arch, or like orthopedic type shoes. We did that, and the pain went away. So I thought, okay, maybe he is just flat-footed. Well, then he started having issues in other places where he would complain like, hey, my hip feels weird, my arm feels weird. Like not really pain, just kind of a weird feeling or a little uncomfortable. And then we noticed that, yes, writing was always a really difficult thing for him. It would be a fight to get him to do his homework or to write. And so, we just continued with more and more and more doctors. And then an incident happened when he was in karate where he was kind of babying his shoulder. And I didn't really notice it until his sensei pointed it out and was like, hey, Jacob's really babying that shoulder, but he's not complaining of any pain. So we started going for x-rays and things like that. And he didn't have any injuries that we could see by x-rays, but it kind of spiraled to where he went to the bone and joint specialist, and eventually we came to a conclusion that he not only has autism, but he has a second diagnosis of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is a connective tissue disorder. So it makes their limbs very, what am I trying to say? He's hyperflexible.
There you go.
Yes. Yeah. He's Gumby.
Yeah.
He's hyperflexible. And while it's a cool party trick, it is actually, yeah, he's very, very flexible. Mm-hmm. So that has kind of posed a problem, and he does get uncomfortable, and his bones and joints and things like that can pop out of socket or dislocate pretty easily. But that has made it challenging for handwriting. Handwriting is really a challenging thing because his arm, his wrist, his shoulder, his fingers, they get tired or fatigued very quickly. So the way the doctor kind of explained it to me was that people who have Ehlers-Danlos compared to a person that doesn't, like you and I could walk around the mall, but to Jacob, that would be like running a marathon. So they fatigue a lot quicker or a lot faster than you and I would. So handwriting has always been an issue for him in school. And we never really attributed that to his autism, but reaching out um, into social media on Instagram, I've noticed that there are a lot more children than I thought with ASD that also have Ehlers-Danlos. And there are a lot of different types of Ehlers-Danlos. It's not just the hypermobility type. There are lots of different types. And there is some sort of correlation, I'm thinking, between the two, just because it seems odd to me that so many kids with ASD also have it. So I think there's some type of correlation, but I don't know what it is. Let me put it in a chat what it's called. Because I know it's kind of tricky to spell it if you don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Casey's might be genetic. His dad has it. His dad has ASD, or his dad has, I'm not sure what you put in there before. Do you know what that says, Jacob? Dysgraphia?
I've never heard of that, honestly. I'm assuming that's some kind of medical condition.
Yes, you can call me Rosie or Crystal. Hi, Tiffany. How are you? This is my son, Jacob.
Hi.
So today we're kind of just having a chat about autism, how it affects Jacob, how it affects me as a mom, and kind of just talking about it and seeing if we can help anybody with questions or kind of a different perspective with Jacob being here. And, you know, before I used to go to a support group that was way on the other side of town and kind of late at night. But there at that support group, it was all parents or guardians. And there was always this one young gentleman that was there that had ASD. And he liked to get up in front of the group and talk about his experiences with a job and a girlfriend and like getting his own apartment and things like that. And I thought that that was really really a great perspective, because as a parent or as a guardian, you don't always see it from their point of view. So that was a really cool thing that they did, or that he did for us in that support group. And so I thought, you know, I asked Jacob how he would enjoy or if he would join us in this chat, and he said yes. And I think that that's a great thing, because a lot of people or a lot of parents don't understand it from their kids' point of view. So Orti's asking you, and she's calling you Ocean now, how is your reading level?
I mean, I don't really know much about reading levels because, to be completely honest, I don't really care. But I'd say it's pretty high. I don't really know exactly where it's at, but it's pretty high, yeah.
So Jacob took the MAP testing a couple of months ago, which what again is the MAP? What did that stand for?
Something educational progress, measuring
academic progress. So he took the MAP testing and he scored the highest level you can score in his math and his language arts. Jacob started reading before he was talking. So he's always had, he's always just picked up reading very quickly. And I don't know if that's because, like, literally from the day he was born or the day that we brought him home from the hospital, we like lived at the library. So it was kind of the closest thing to our house. I was a stay-at-home mom. I was always looking for things for us to do together, even as a brand new infant. And so the library was our place. And people used to laugh at me all the time when I would take Jacob to like story time, because it was all toddlers and Jacob was an infant in his carrier. He couldn't even walk or crawl or anything. And I was taking him to story time, but I think he absorbed it. I really do, because he started reading at a really early age. And by the time he was ready to start kindergarten, he was already reading like Harry Potter books and Diary of a Wimpy Kid. You know, he was reading those at 4 and 5 years old. So he, yeah, college level reading. Yeah, I think that's where Jacob is probably at too. Hi, Thelma. How are you doing today? So Jacob, Thelma, I believe, is a special needs teacher. And I was in one of her live streams before. She's a beautiful person, and so yeah, it's interesting to see from so many different point of views, whether it's a teacher, a first responder, maybe a hairdresser, a parent, a child. You know, everyone experiences it differently. So I think that's why this group or this chat is so important, that we can all talk about it with each other. He speaks very articulate. Thank you, Thelma. Yes, okay, so she teaches middle school special education. So that's right at Jacob's level right now. So Jacob is currently in the 8th grade, which this has always been a challenge for us too with the school district. So Jacob is technically has already completed the 8th grade and should be in 9th. But the school district, on more than one occasion, has told us that because of his age, that they don't want to move him too quickly through the grades, because they're afraid that he would be awkward socially. Which I think is hilarious, because because
already am. You don't have to worry about that.
exactly. I don't even know what to say at that, but yeah. So it's interesting. And so he was held back a year, twice now. And one time I was able to convince a school principal to move him ahead and skip a grade. And now he's being held back again. So it's just like this tug of war, and it's school is challenging. It's very challenging. So no, not in a good way. Not in a good way. Because even if you weren't diagnosed with autism, a gifted child should not be held back just because of their age. If you're gifted and you're capable of the work, and you want to do the work, and you want to move ahead and keep going, why would you hold that child back? It makes no sense. Why?
It makes perfect sense.
Why?
Profit.
Profit?
Because if you think about it, like, the way that schools get their money is by showing that they're a good school so that they actually get funding, correct?
Yes.
So they would want to keep the good students in there as long as humanly possible so that they can keep getting good scores to boost their rating.
That's entirely possible. I mean, that's
basically, you're just an unpaid worker, also known as a slave.
But I think that he sounds like a genius. Yeah, his IQ is technically in the genius level. And we homeschool to the point of where he is doing the online schooling. And then we've always kind of filled in our own curriculum with additional things. He was taking classes at Stanford at one point. with a youth program that they had there. And I think I have almost reached my capacity of being able to homeschool him. And what I mean by that is that Jacob, I'm a pretty intelligent person, I think, and I do have a college background. And I can teach Jacob so far, but then I think that he's already at that level almost equal to me. So I don't know that I can continue to teach him more if I did just straight homeschooling. I would need maybe tutors or additional help to do homeschooling, just because I think that he's going to surpass me very quickly. So that's kind of why we've reached out and gone through the public schooling, but I don't know. I mean, I'm still looking at different options for him, as far as what we can do to accelerate him through school and just get him out and into doing what he wants to do and get him into college. That's really where he wants to be. So I don't know. I'm just reading the chat. So where you lived in grade school, they wanted him vaulted. Yeah, see, unfortunately, it's kind of the opposite here. They want to hold him back. He's currently only 12 years old and in 8th grade. Technically, he should be in 9th. So he's already several years ahead. Yes, there are young kids, 15 years old, that have graduated from Harvard. But we're struggling with that here. In Las Vegas, the school district will not push him through the grades, even though he's more than capable of doing the work. They tested him at the beginning of this school year. When I told the school he should be in 9th grade, why is he taking 8th grade over? They tested him. He tested the highest levels in both language arts and math, and they still wouldn't put him in 9th grade. They still held him back in 8th grade. So
that, right?
The what?
You know, call me weird, but what was the point of that test? Because I basically could not have done better. So you're telling me if I got the grade above the best grade possible. So let's take this from like an Asian parent's perspective. So if I got an A plus, then I would have been moved into 9th grade, correct? Because that's like the reason that we did the testing, right? Because otherwise, what was the point of doing the testing in the first place? That just seems like kind of a waste of time. If it's not actually going to get anything done, and it's just going to be another map test I'm going to have to take. I'm going to have to take it again midway through the school year.
So, I mean, we've encountered this before at your previous school. We had the same issue where they tested you and said, you know, if you score high enough, then we'll move you to the next grade. What I think is that maybe they're expecting you not to do well. And so you scored as high as possible on that test, as you seem to always do, and they didn't move you forward. And the same thing happened this year. So you took the test and you didn't move forward, even though they said that they would move you. So I don't know. I feel kind of stuck. I feel kind of stuck. There are homeschooling co-ops. Tiffany suggested maybe some homeschooling co-ops. There are homeschooling co-ops here. I haven't really looked into high school co-ops. A lot of it is like elementary school homeschooling. And we live in Las Vegas, where, excuse me, the school district is literally like last in all of the United States. It's the worst, like literally the very bottom, the very last on the chart.
Why?
Yeah. So it's difficult. They don't want to push their gifted kids through. It sounds like you need a lawyer. We have one. We have a lawyer. But they can't really. So my challenge is this, and I don't want to say too much because we do have a lawyer and I don't know what I should and should not say. So I'm going to say this. The challenge is that if I were to pursue the school district, where would that put us in the future? Would that push him through to the grade that he should be in? Or would it basically brand him as, you know, the child that sued the school district or something like that, and make it more challenging for us to where we wouldn't be able to go to school at all unless it was like a private school. So that's kind of where I've been on the fence, and we have talked about that just recently actually, and I didn't know which way I wanted to go with it, and so far I have not pursued it legally, just for that fact that I don't want him to be branded or to have a more difficult time in school than what we are already having. So, you know, and then if we did pursue his school, it is a public school, so we'd be technically be pursuing the school district, and so it'd be across the board at all schools. So, you know, I don't know if I want to go there at this point. I'm depending on what they decide to do, because this school did just give him the MAP testing again this week, and he finishes his English language arts probably tomorrow testing. So depending on what they decide to do, because we already know what his scores are going to be and how they're going to come back, depending on what they decide to do with him will depend on how we proceed. So we'll see what happens. You're lucky to be here. It's a small community. Are you talking about here in the chat or where you live? And where do you live? I don't know where you're from. But yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair that our gifted students are being held back when they have so many opportunities. And I think that's how a lot of gifted kids just get lost in the system. They get bored, they quit, drop out of school. They can find better things to do, you know.
Because the companies only care about the profit.
Yeah.
They don't care about people that might be able to change the world. They don't care about making people's lives better. They just care about some money, and the grand scheme of things doesn't really mean anything. I don't know why I just did a fedora tip with my glasses, but I did. I'm a school district.
Like howdy doody. Yeah, unfortunately, profit motivates a lot of different companies, and it's not just the school district, you know. Pharmaceutical company. Well, I don't want to get into all that, but
I mean, honestly, I don't get why profit is like everyone's main goal. It never really made sense to me. Because like I understand money's important and all, but what does money lead you to? Like actually, what does money lead you to?
what do you mean? What does it lead you to?
Because like, what are you actually going for out of the time that you have here on Earth? Are you looking to just enjoy yourself? Are you looking to make a profit? And if so, why? What is there to gain by making these pieces of paper with numbers on them? I never really understood the whole thing behind making as much money as possible.
Hmm. I don't know. I don't know. I've kind of learned that, it's, when I was working, um, we had a lot of luxuries. We had luxury cars. We had a giant house. Um, we had a lot of money. But there's a lot of hardships and extra bills and stress that comes along with it. And now that we have moved to Las Vegas and we've kind of rethought that idea, money isn't everything, like you're saying. Money isn't everything. And look at how happy we are. Well, you probably don't remember because you were an infant, but our lives are so much better where we are now, and we make probably half the amount of money that we were making when we lived in California.
Mhm.
And exactly. Hi, DePage, how are you? More money, more problems. That's it. That's exactly it. More stress. More stress. The more money you make, the more bills you have, the more money you spend.
Mhm.
And it was so stressful. And California is ridiculous to begin with. It's so expensive. So when we moved to Las Vegas, it was the best decision we ever made. We downsized our house. We had a giant house in Cali, and we moved here to Las Vegas. We have a little house. We got rid of our luxury cars. We got rid of all of our expensive luxuries. And we are so happy and so comfortable. No stress, no money problems. And we're just in such a good place right now. So I understand completely what you're saying, Jacob, is that people are so driven by money that they really forget, or they really stop to think, like, what is the point of it?
Mhm.
That you have all of that money, but what is the point?
Because a lot of people don't think about that until they actually get to that point. And they're like, did I just waste like 30, 40 years of my life and now I don't even know what to do with this thing I've strived for my entire life?
Mm-hmm.
Because I strongly believe that friends and happiness are everything. Money can sometimes get you some of it, but for the most part, it's not going to be everything.
That's true. And the happiness that money buys you is temporary. It's temporary. Maybe it buys you that thing that you wanted at the mall, or maybe it buys you that, I don't know. So you go to the mall, you buy something, and it's this temporary high of that you got what you wanted. But
But how long is
like
that
you
item
said,
going to
money.
last you compared to your actual lifespan?
The what?
But how long is that item going to last you compared to your actual lifespan?
Yeah, that's true. Your friends, you can't buy your friends, or if you do buy your friends, they're
They're
not
not
real
your
friends.
friends.
They're not your real friends. So we're getting a little off the subject here, but so you live in Northern California where it's a little bit cheaper. I don't know. I haven't been to Northern California probably since before this kid was born. So it's been a minute. But I just know, like, we're from Southern California, and it's just getting more and more expensive and ridiculous out there. I love Southern California. If I could live there, I would go back. Um, but the cost of living there, it's not worth it at this point. So Orty says Casey got expelled, did online, but went back missing some school, brought a class one-on-one to fix this past year. So Joanna says we've always driven 10-year-old normal cars like Buicks. there's something to be said about just living within your means, and it's really humbled me, I guess, to where, when we were living in California, I drove a BMW, and don't get me wrong, I loved my car. But now, I drive a minivan, and I love my minivan. And, my husband's always telling me, oh, we're going to trade it in. I'm like, no, I want my van. But, yeah, I'm so much happier now where we live than where we lived before. And Pat Dees is in the house. That's my number 200. He says, what is in the closet? Today, we are coming out of the closet, and we are talking about autism. Not that kind of closet, Jacob. So
I'm sorry, okay? The internet.
I know, I guess I deserve that. So today we're talking about autism and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and kind of looking at it a little bit point of view from Jacob's point of view, but also from being a mom of a child with autism, and we're talking about the school district and things like that. So that's what's on the agenda today. So way up north past Sacramento. You were raised in Southern California. Okay, cool. Where in Southern California are you from? Your dad bought the house for $17,000 back in 1963, and now it's worth over $500,000. That's awesome. That's awesome. A van can be dangerous to have when sourcing. Yes, and grocery shopping. And the van that we have is a commercial van. So it is, they're actually made as cargo vans. But we were lucky enough to find one that had the second row of seating in the back. So it's got the front row, a second row, and then like this huge amount of cargo space. So yeah, we like to fill it up. Well, I like to fill it up. I can't say we. I like to fill it up.
It's fun to go home.
Pat D says, I walk to the local McDonald's and I love my legs. Okay. You love your legs, huh? He says, hello, Jacob. What are you doing? You're hiding? You're from Orange County. Okay. Yeah, see, I worked in Orange County for like 10 years.
You know what? I'm just going to use my blanket as my face from now on.
Oh, we've got like, you're showing us like a bazillion different little emoji faces at the moment.
Yeah, well, just imagine I'm the one that you think I am.
It's the one with the glasses.
Well, if that's the one that you can imagine me as, then sure.
Your battery is failing, just wishing Casey could meet Iceman. Well, if you ever get an opportunity, maybe we could collab together, or, you could come on and we could get the kids to talk with each other. That would be really awesome. Oh, that I love the minivan for reasons. Okay, I got you, Pat. I understand what you're saying. So, Jacob, are you getting tired? Have you had enough? Are you hiding from us now? Oh, Pat says he has some questions, that he wants you to sit in the chair and that he's got some questions for you.
Well, I mean, I can sit on the chair. In the chair, that's a different story.
Don't fall over.
Don't worry. I've learned my lesson on that one. Actually, this
Okay.
is difficult. Yeah, I can do like this, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, this works. Maybe.
So Pat says, Jacob, what is your favorite food?
Depends on what I'm feeling, but for the most part, just literally any meat.
Any meat?
Yeah. It's meat in general.
Just meat in general, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's always something different with you. There's always the words are not coming to me today. So theme is not what I'm trying to say. What am I trying to say? When you were younger, it was like noodles. Noodles were your favorite, and it was like noodles every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All you wanted to eat was noodles. And so now it's meat. All you want is meat.
Well, I mean, like, asking favorites here. I still love noodles.
Gotcha. All right, now Pat's asking movies. Are there any movies that you like? Yeah, Jake's not a movie guy.
That's just no.
And this old helmet just joined us and said, Jacob, thank you for being here and answering questions. And Pat says, protein, he loves the meat. Good kid. We could hang out at Wendy's. Pat, Jacob is 12 years old. So yeah, Jacob, when he was smaller, he did like movies, but it would be one particular movie, and he would play it on repeat over and over and over, and sometimes just hit rewind on like this little small section and just play it over and over and over. But he's never really been into a lot of movies or TV. Mainly YouTube.
I've been seeming to spend most of my time on Doki Doki mods, so.
Yeah, so video games now. More video games.
In my opinion, Doki Doki mods are more of like books than video games, but.
So Pat says he likes Disney movies, but he likes many movies like Willy Wonka. I like Willy Wonka, and I love Disney movies. Just about every single one of them I enjoy. And a lot of the movies that Jacob did like when he was younger was Disney movies. Cars was one of his favorites, and that was one of the ones that was on repeat all the time. Cars and what's that one with the mouse? Ratatouille. That one was on there. Pat's asking you, Jacob, what do you want to do for a living?
I mean, either just something with computers, whether it be like engineering or just something like that, or with like video game design, something like that. Something along those lines.
Video game design. I think you're going to be amazing at that. I mean, you definitely know your way around a computer, and I ask you for help all the time when I'm having issues with my old clunker. But
and as weird as it may sound, a Doki Doki mod that I've actually recently been playing is actually teaching me things about Python. So that's a thing.
About Python?
Which is honestly kind of the language that I was thinking of picking up because I thought it's pretty well rounded.
Very cool.
It's like Python 2 and Python 3 and like weird things like that. It's actually really interesting.
You might want to explain to everyone. I know what it is, but you might want to explain what Python is.
Well, if you don't know what Python is a programming language that is commonly used in games. Not every game uses it. Some games use things like Java, C++, etc. But Python is one that's commonly used and has different types and stuff. So, yeah.
Gotcha. So it looks like Pat is taking off. So bye, Pat. Thank you for dropping in and saying hi and asking Jacob some questions. I will see you soon. So Joanna says that you should look into motherboard soldering. That's interesting.
Sounds interesting. Absolutely.
Yeah, it does. Pat had asked, can you beat your mom in an arm wrestling match?
Maybe not arm wrestling, but wrestling, yeah, most likely.
Mm-hmm. Wrestling, definitely. Arm wrestling, we're not going to try that because I don't want your arm popping out. You could probably beat me if you didn't have that issue. Because I'm sure you are.
Then I probably wouldn't win at wrestling because then I wouldn't be able to, do my weird
flexible things. So we're coming up on 1 hour now, and
Yeah, look
so
there. At least that's the time for me. I don't know if
yeah, it's opposite in the camera, but it's right
Yeah.
there. They can't see it,
Well,
only we
up
can
there.
see it. But yeah, we're coming up on 1 hour, and I'm hoping. Oh, Norgis has just joined us. Hi, Norgis. How are you? She says, good afternoon. It is still morning for us here. It's 10 o'clock, but good afternoon to you.
Time zones are weird. That's a thing
Yes.
that I say very commonly on my stream.
Time zones are weird. Ordy's asking, what kind of books do you like?
In terms of like actual books, I haven't really read that much, although again, because of Doki Doki stuff, I wanted to pick up the Yellow Wallpaper. Seems interesting. And then for the most part, a lot of the reading that I've been doing has just been coming from the visual novels that I've been playing, which is mainly just like reading, but also part video game. It's really interesting, actually.
Very cool. Yeah, I think he read every single book at the library when we lived in California. Well, in the children's section, anyways. He read every single book in that section of the library. So he didn't really have a specific genre back then. Just anything that he could read, he would pick it up and read it. But now, yeah, I've noticed he is drawn more to like the graphic novels, and we'll go to the library here in a couple of days and check out what they've got in like the anime type section. Oh, so Norgis is asking, who is that handsome person on the panel? This is my son, Jacob. Jacob is 12 years old, and he's with us today talking.
You got the wrong guy. Here, I'll bring him out.
What?
I think you got the wrong guy. Here, I'll bring him out.
We got the wrong guy? We're not talking about you?
Yeah, you got the wrong guy. Trust me, I know who you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Somebody else, not you, huh? But yeah, Jacob is 12, and
yeah, it's my boy Frank. Right? This is the guy you're talking about? My boy Frank?
put on his Halloween costume.
Or are you actually talking about me? I mean, I'm Frank. Are you talking about my man Iceman, or are you talking about
No, we were talking about you. We're talking about you.
Oh, you were okay. You were talking about me. I kind of figured because I'm the only handsome one here for the most part.
Oh, gotcha.
You know, Frank. It's a pretty awesome name, right? Yeah.
Yes. So he's also a comedian.
What's my mouse doing, man? There you go.
I don't know, it's like bending on the side there.
Yeah,
Mark says hi, Frank and Jacob.
But yeah.
Did you hear me? Norgis says hi, Frank and Jacob.
Hi, nice to meet you. Here, I'll bring Jacob back if you want, or do you want to be talking to Frank?
Yeah, have Jacob come back so we can wrap it up.
All right, yeah, 1 second.
Yeah, so we are planning on doing this live stream maybe twice a month. Does that sound good, Jacob? Twice a month?
Yeah.
Or do you want to do it every week?
It's up to you. I mean, you're the one that created it. I'm just here.
Okay, so at this time, I'm thinking twice a month. We'll see how that goes. Twice a month on Thursday mornings. We'll be talking about autism, Ehlers-Danlos, kind of how it affects me as a parent, but also, from Jacob's point of view, how it affects him. And then any questions that you guys might have, whether it's with the school district, insurance, different ways to navigate maybe Social Security, really any questions that you might have. I will try to help you, and if I don't know the answers, I will try to find them for you. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. So everything that I say is from my own point of view, how I have experienced it, and how my son has experienced it. But everyone, whether it's a parent, whether it is a grandparent, aunt, uncle, brother, sister, a first responder, a pilot, a hairdresser, so many different things, a teacher, or the person with autism, everyone experiences it differently. And so that's why I think that this chat is so important, that we can talk about it openly, and just make other people aware. Not only people, or not only parents and guardians, but everyone. We want to talk about it with everyone and just make more people aware. Awareness is really the big thing. Just getting people aware of the issues and the challenges that surround autism. So hopefully all of you will join us, not next week, but the following week. So what day is that, Jacob? That is the 31st. And I'll put a reminder on my channel so I don't forget to. But join us on the 31st, and we will have another chat like this with me and Jacob. Well, Jacob and I know I'm probably silently correcting my grammar. So with Jacob and I, we'll have another chat, and bring your questions and see if we can help you out. And we should have a topic for our next chat, a specific topic. So this one was just kind of an open introduction, get to know us a little bit, ask some questions. But the 31st will actually have a topic, and look for the link in my on my channel. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and hit the thumbs up. Thank you so much, Jacob, for hanging out with me today, even though you're right next door in your bedroom. But thank you very much for doing this. I mean, it takes a lot of guts, just to do a live stream in general, but to come out and say, yeah, I'm autistic. Yes, I have Ehlers-Danlos, these disabilities, but yes, they're challenging, but that's not who I am. So
honestly, I've always been pretty open about it. I've never really been shy about it because I don't really see a reason to.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people will, for some reason, try and think that you're an idiot for having autism, which isn't even close to true. It's usually like the pretty much the exact opposite.
Well, I think that is a stigma that kind of surrounds autism, and that's just, again, that is awareness, that a lot of people think that they know what autism is, and maybe they do, but from just that perspective, that they don't, because again, it's called autism spectrum disorder.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the very, very low functioning, and you have the super high functioning, which is where you're at. So maybe from that person's point of view, they have someone in their family or someone that they know that's more on the low functioning, and they attribute all autism to be in that low functioning category, when that's not the case at all. That's not the case at all. I mean, you look at so many geniuses, like take Albert Einstein for instance. Thank you. My words are not coming today. Albert Einstein, for instance. Albert Einstein was autistic, and he's a genius. He didn't go to high school, and he's literally a math and science genius. And it's like, there are so many people out there that you wouldn't know were autistic just because you have this general idea of what you think autism is. And it, like I said, it's different for everyone, and that's why it's a spectrum. There's the low functioning, all the ones in the middle, and then the high functioning at the top. And you can't assume, even us as a parent or as a child with autism, that we can't assume that we know everything there is to know about autism, because it affects everyone differently.
Mm-hmm. You may understand it from a second person perspective, but do you understand it from a first person, from a third person, from a fourth person, or even on different
Yeah.
perspectives of the spectrum? English is hard. Like, there's a lot of different variables.
That's true. That's so true. So, do you have anything else that you want to say before we go?
Not really, no.
No? Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We're going to get going. Thursdays is usually our day where we kind of hang out and do mom and son stuff, have fun. So, yeah, join us back here again on the 31st in the morning. I'm not sure if we're going to move it up a little bit earlier or we're going to stick to this time, but look for it on my channel and subscribe and hit the little bell so that you'll be notified if we do go live. And we will see you guys here next time for another autism chat. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for being here. And thank you, Jacob, for coming on here and being the awesome kid that you are. Love you, monkey. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you later. Bye.